Hello everybody and welcome back to Memory Gamma. Today we're going to continue with our Heroes of the Federation idea, and we're going to move on from the Enterprises and we're going to move to Deep Space Nine. It's going to be two videos of these for Deep Space Nine. One of them is going to be the station itself, and the other one is going to be this video, which is going to be the tough little ship, the USS, or I should say NX Defiant. So again, I'm not going to go into a big background history of it. Basic thing for anyone who wants to know, anyone who's forgotten or doesn't know off the top of their head anyway, the Defiant class was built as an answer to the growing Borg threat, partially designed and idea came up with and designed by Benjamin Sisko himself. The ship was armed with phaser cannons, quantum torpedo launchers, and had a warp core capable of powering a ship 4 times larger than itself. It had the firepower of a battleship, Excelsior Galaxy class, in the ship the size of a very, very small escort ship. It's about, Miranda Sabre class. It's very much a small ship, and yet it's got the power of something much larger. The idea being a dedicated warship. However, the Borg threat became less and less, so it was sidelined, and then the Dominion War, when they found out the Dominion was going to be a problem, Sisko brought the Defiant to Deep Space Nine, where O'Brien did in the next year and a half what the Starfleet Corps of Engineers hadn't managed to do in nearly 5 years, which is make it work. Just goes to show you how good O'Brien is. So, we're going to start with the USS Defiant. Now, there is only one version of the Defiant. There are several Defiant classes, the Defiant, the Valiant, and the Sao Paulo. For anybody who's watched the series will remember right at the end of Deep Space Nine, when the Breen joined the Dominion, the Breen energy dampening weapon hits the Defiant, and the Defiant is unfortunately destroyed. The crew escapes in escape pods, but the ship is unfortunately destroyed. The USS Sao Paulo has been launched and is sent over to Deep Space Nine and is given special dispensation to be renamed USS Defiant. However, because it's literally fresh off the line, it doesn't have any of the old Defiant upgrades and extra bits and pieces, so it's, as Nog says, a little clunky. Whether that's just the fact that he's used to the Defiant or because it's actually not quite as good, not sure. But we have the USS Defiant here. So we have 3 attack, 2 defense, 3 hull, 4 shields. Reasonable thing, forward and rear 90, double crew, double weapon tech, normal Federation action bar, and a nice maneuver dial of the only thing that's red is the come about. Now, we're going to keep this faction pure and obviously series eerie pure. The Defiant does have obviously a cloaking device gifted to them by the Romulans on the understanding that they don't use it in the Alpha Quadrant, and any information they gain while in the Gamma Quadrant using it they have to share with the Romulan Star Empire. We're not going to put we might put the cloaking device on here. We're not going to put Tarul, who is the Romulan officer sent to oversee the Dominion, the Defiant's cloaking device while they're on operations at the beginning. So we're going to start with the captain. Now, the captain of the Defiant is, depending on which point of the series you have, Colonel Kira, Sisko, or Worf. So we're going to have a look at all of them. Let's start with Benjamin Lafayette Sisko. So we have 4 different versions of Sisko. The first version of Sisko, every time your ship suffers damage to its hull, you may roll an attack dice. On a hit or crit, you damage the enemy back. On a battle stations, you get a battle stations token. It's nice. It's a nice counterattack ability, and it happens when you suffer hull damage. Unfortunately, the Defiant only has 3 points of hull, which means it's going to really struggle to trigger that more than once. We have our next one. When attacking during the modified attack dice step, if the defending ship is either a Dominion ship or has a Dominion captain, you get to add a crit. Nice, he hates the Dominion. And in the end phase, remove 1 Orc's power token from beside this ship. That's the most modern version of Cisco. It's a very, very nice version of Cisco. We've got this next Cisco. Skill 7, 4 points. During the roll defense dice step, if you're in the forward firing arc of 2 or more ships, get a bonus defenses against all of those attacks. And every time your ship receives a damage card, get +1 captain skill for the rest of the game. This bonus remains even if the damage is repaired. So you can take hull damage, 2 points, any more than that, and obviously the Defiant is dead. And then your captain skill 9. So you get better as you get angrier. Okay, again, possibility. And finally, the final Cisco, 6 skill, 4 points. Once per round, you may reroll any one attack or defense dice. Now, that doesn't say when attacking or when defending. That's once per round, reroll any one attack or defense dice. So if, for example, you're rolling a defense dice against a minefield, you can reroll that. If you've got a warp core breach going and you roll a crit, you can use his ability to reroll the attack dice to reroll the crit from the warp core breach. So it's very limited. It is once per round and it's one attack or defense dice. But it is just once per round, any one attack or defense dice that you roll. So it's a possibility. Kira Nerys. There's only a couple of Kiras. Skill 5 Kira gives you the ability for all friendly ships get a free target lock action if possible at range 1 to 2. Nice. And then the very cheaper one gives you protection from enemy crew upgrades. If a crew upgrade on an enemy ship would cause your ship to discard or disable any upgrades, roll 2 defense dice on at least 1 evade. You ignore the effect of the enemy upgrade. Not brilliant, not amazing, but possibility. Worf. There's only one Captain Worf. When you attack, during the modified attack dice, you can spend a Battle Stations token to convert all of your blanks into hits. So that there is a sort of play on the crew version of Klingon Worf where he gets blank conversions anyway. This one, you have to spend a Battle Stations token to convert your blanks. So if, for example, you roll your dice and you've rolled no Battle Stations, you can still use him to spend the Battle Stations token to get the blank conversion. So it's still a nice thing to do. It's still a nice thing to do. However, his spending that token is the one card you can activate with the Battle Stations token. So you can't then trigger more abilities with it. So, again, there's not, to be honest, there's not an awful lot of really good captains for the Defiant. Cisco's probably the best, but there is actually a crew Cisco which works even better as a crew, which I will get to when we talk about that. And actually, you know what? I might bring that up now just so we can have a look. So Ben Cisco is a crew member. In the combat phase, you put an Orcs power token beside this ship, and you can remove either 2 time tokens or a disable token from a Federation weapon card on this ship. If this ship has a Federation prototype construction, you get a Battle Stations token as well. Now, Fed prototype may only be equipped to you a unique ship whose name, ignoring registry number, listed as after USS is the same as the ship class. USS Defiant, Defiant class. It's 1 point and gives you a defensive reroll and an extra slot. So now we throw on Cisco. And in the combat phase, take an Orcs power token and get a re-enabled weapon and a Battle Stations token. Nothing wrong with that. At which point, I suppose there's one other person that we could have as captain, which is Jadzia. You don't pay a faction penalty when equipping Klingon elite talents. Nice. There's a lot of the Klingon elite talents, however, that are Klingon captain only, so she can't have those. That means that the generic ones you don't pay a faction penalty. And in the activation phase, you get a 1 bank maneuver at the start of the activation phase for free. We might actually want to do that. That's not a bad one. That means we've got a lot of opportunities for move, and then we get double move every single turn. So, our talent slot. Because it's Jadzia, I am also going to bring up the Klingon, because she gets the ability to bring them. Now, Cunning is a nice one. It works well if we're cloaked. If we have no active shields, we get a blank conversion when attacking and a reroll blank when defending, which is a possibility. Persistence. Pursuit, again, Long Live the Empire is Klingon ship only. Moktavar is Klingon captain only. Cry Havoc, Klingon captain only. There's lots and lots and lots of talents which she says that she could be bringing, but is not amazing. Defense condition 1's not bad. Gives a battle stations token to you and everything at range 1 to 2. That's not a bad thing at all. It is once per game though. So we could go for what could we do? Couverma. Couverma's not bad, but it requires you bringing Klingon crew upgrades, which we're not going to be able to do. Aim and fire. When firing your primary weapon, discard if you're at range 1 to 2, and the target ship can't reroll any defense dice. So that's nice if you're hunting down a ship which you know gets rerolls, the Belak for instance. Otherwise, not amazing. Cry Havoc, you get bonus dice for each opposing ship in your forward firing arc, and the next time you roll defense dice, you lose 1 dice for each additional attack gains you gain this way. So you could roll plus 3 dice, and the next time you defend, you lose 3 dice. That could certainly be a way to do it, especially if you've managed to get the cloak, because you're going to be either out of arc and you don't really care, or you'll be rolling -3. But you get 6 to start, so you're still going to be rolling some defense dice. We'll put Cry the Warrior in as a potential, also because it leads into Jadzia's special ability. So let's bring off the Klingons. So let's start with, let's bring a weapon upgrade since Cisco's there. Now there is a Defiant special weapon upgrade. Phaser cannons. So 4 attack dice. Zoom in ever so slightly. 4 attack dice. Forward firing arc only. Defiant locked. 3 time tokens. Pick an opposing ship. And then after you fired this, you make a primary weapon attack as well. And since they're in the forward firing arc, you're always going to get to do that. So that we bring. It's 3 points. It gives us double shot. 4 dice, then 3 dice. We can boost that 3 dice up with some Type 8 phasers, for example. Or we can throw in an arsenal and put Type 10. And Type 10 might not be bad, actually. And also, now, only problem is, Arsenal won't work with Ben Sisko. Because Ben Sisko is not up to 2. You have to remove 2 time tokens or a disabled token from a weapon upgrade. And that would start with 3. Down to 2. Thanks to Arsenal. And then down to 1 in the end phase, which means you wouldn't be able to do that. So, probably not what we want to do. If you want to put down Type 10, we're going to be looking at using the Federation prototype slot. But for now, let's go to the tech. So, there is some ablative armor, special to the Defiant. When defending, +1 defense dice, and during the modified attack dice step, you convert all crits to hits. Now, the ship already has the same ability to convert crits to hits. However, this is 2 points for a permanent +1 defense dice. Not a bad shout, even on the Defiant when you're doubling up on the ability. It just means you get on more defense dice. Now, there is also the cloaking device. So the way this works, instead of performing your normal action, You may disable this card to perform the cloak action. While you have a cloak token beside your ship, you may perform the sensor echo action even if this card is disabled. Now, it costs 5 points more for anything that isn't the Defiant. So, it's a nice card. It's certainly worth bringing sometimes. It's definitely an idea because... Now, the problem is the Federation have not a single card which is meant for cloak building. They have this, and they have the phasing cloaking device on the Oberth. And that's it. They have lots of stuff for fighting cloak. You know, everything from Christopher Hobson to Metaphasic Sweep to Sensor Grid. And Attack on Detection Grid even. They've got lots of stuff for taking care of cloak, but nothing for helping their own cloak, because the Federation don't do cloak. So... the Defiant with the cloaking device ends up flying a bit like a Klingon ship. Hit and run. Screams in under cloak to make sure it gets into contact. Alpha strikes and goes whoomp. And then screams away under its own shields. And there's not a problem with that. We could totally do that. But it depends. Now, otherwise, we've got... let's go for weaponry. There's another weapon which gets special from the Defiant, which is the quantum torpedoes. These ones here. For Akira, Defiant, Sovereign, and the brand new question mark class that's there. Now, they sound nice. 3 points, forward firing arc. And they give... you have to have a target lock, disable the card, target the opposing ship. They get an Aux power token for you pulling the trigger, and for every crit you roll, you add a hit. However, they're only primary weapon +1, so you're only rolling 4 dice. It's not amazing. They're good. These quantum torpedoes are definitely worth bringing, and actually, to be fair, they're 2 points extra if not on a Sovereign, Defiant, Akira, or brand new class. And on Akira there are 5 dice, on the Sovereign there are 6 dice. These are worth bringing on a Galaxy. You pay 5 points, you're getting 5 dice with all these special rules. These are worth bringing on, you know, anything with 4 or 5 dice. Intrepids, Prometheus, these are worth bringing, even if you pay the 5 points for it. I don't know if we want to put them onto this Defiant. The idea with this is Cisco means that you can fire the phaser cannons every single turn, effectively, with a battle stations token. So you can go action battle stations. Cisco does another battle stations. It gives you a battle stations conversion for each of the 2 attacks. So I think we might just go Type 8, which gives you +1 attack dice, meaning we're rolling 4 and then 4 dice. If we're at range 1, we'll get 4 dice then 5 dice because of the range 1 bonus for prime weapon. Now, crew. There are several... now, there are lots of Dominion War DS9 crew we could look at. So, let's go down the list. So, first officer, Kira Nerys. We only have 1 of her. As a free action, you can put 3 time tokens on her and target an opposing ship at range 1. Disable one of their tech upgrades, then roll a dice. On a hit crit, so 50-50, you also kill one of their crew upgrades as she sabotages the ship. Now that's a free action, so you can do that even if you've already done an action. It's only at range 1. But it's definitely worth considering. However, it's worth considering if you put someone else in with her. Namely, Ezri Dax. Now, Ezri is one of those cards that almost deserves her own video, all to herself. She doesn't look like much, you know, small, unassuming. 2 points, places herself in crew slots. Whenever 1 or more time tokens would be placed on this ship's captain or a crew upgrade, put 1 fewer. So, Kira becomes 2 time tokens. A 2 time token crew becomes 1 time token. It just speeds every single captain and crew combination up. All of them. She is an absolute necessity in almost any Federation crew combo build. She works amazingly with people like Bounty Kirk, who converts all disabled tokens on your crew into time tokens. Now suddenly not only are they not disabled with their only time token, they're also less time tokens. Or with Enterprise B that gets bonuses, or ships with loads of crew slots. So we could put Esri in, and then we could put Kira in that slot. And that means we can do Kira every other round for free. That's not bad. Certainly not bad. Now, our next crew option, who have we got? So, we've got our Councillor, we've got that. Let's look at our Doctor, Julian Bashir. Now, I've already mentioned Bashir. Bashir's got a few versions. The newest version, at the activation phase, you can target a crew upgrade, remove 2 time tokens or a disabled token from a target crew upgrade. If it's on an opposing ship, that ship loses an attack dice. So you can even heal your enemies, but it'll also cost them an attack dice. So that's always nice. However, it has to be exactly 2 time tokens, just like Cisco. So with Esri speeding up Kira, it's not really plausible. This Julian Bashir, at any time you may discard him to roll re-roll 1 dice. Okay. It's so niche that there will be a time where you go, I wish I had Julian Bashir because I need to re-roll this 1 dice. You know, that 1 dice to see whether the attack hits or doesn't hit. That 1 attack to see whether you've warp core breached yourself into oblivion. That 1 attack, that 1 dice to see if you die from an exploding, from an obstacle collision. But he's just 4 points for that once in a million chance. And the other one is, as an action, you may move a disabled upgrade token from one of your crew rep tech upgrades onto another crew tech upgrade, and then you may perform the action on the now re-enabled upgrade as a free action if it's got one. So, for example, if you had who's a crew action? Okay, Hikaru Sulu, that says action, have +2 defense dice in a battle station to evade conversion every time you defend this round. If he had been disabled by an enemy upgrade, Julian Bashir would enable you to move that disabled token from him onto someone else or onto a piece of tech, and then immediately do his action for free. Now that's not bad at all. Again, these guys here are all time tokens, not disabled tokens, so not something we really need to worry about. So let's go from Bashir, and since we've already mentioned him, Miles Edward O'Brien, Transporter Chief and Chief Engineer plus Chief of Operations. So we've got this Miles, disabled to repair 2 shields, but you can't attack this round. There's times when you want it, not all the time. The next Miles, if you're not cloaked, disable all of your remaining shields, discard him, and deal 1 damage to the enemy to the target ship's hull, provided they're not close and have no shields. Doesn't have to be an enemy ship. Could be a friendly ship. Why you'd want to spend 5 points on a card to damage your own ships unless you're trying to detonate your own bomb catch is a matter for you. But again, possible, but maybe not. Don't think so. This guy, discard this card to disable 1 upgrade on another ship, range 1 to 3. This is the OG one, right from the very beginning, the very first one. This guy here, disable this card in planning phase to re-enable a weapon or a tech upgrade. Nice. Only really works if you've got ways to re-enable him. Julian Bashir works nicely for that. And the final one is you can put the transporter room upgrade without requiring an upgrade slot. And as a free action, you can perform the transport action. So he's the transporter chief. Now transport is the new action, and it allows you to either put a crew member from your ship onto their ship if they've got an empty space, or vice versa, or swap 2 crew members over. Again, not usually the thing you want to do for a warship. So after O'Brien, we have... Now, Quark is obviously on board. Quark is not a Federation card, he's a Ferengi card. He could be put on here and you could hide some torpedoes underneath him. Odo the same, he's an independent card, not a Federation card. Odo allows you to copy enemy or friendly crew upgrades, actions or abilities and use them yourself. Who else? Ooh! Elim Garrick. plain, simple Taylor. Now, for a plain and simple Taylor, he's really quite nice in terms of upgrades. At the start of the combat phase, you can disable him to add +2 captain skill, or discard him in the combat phase to re-roll up to 3 attack or defense dice. Now that's nice. For a plain, simple Taylor, he's got an awful lot of utility in terms of either bonus captain skill right at the start of the combat phase, so you leapfrog, or he's a partial re-roll for attack or defense rolls. He's certainly nice. Again, I'd love to be able to bring him with someone that could re-enable him each turn. So bringing Julian Bashir, so that you can use that 2 points of bonus captain skill every single turn. And we could, you could do that. It means dropping out Kira and giving us Garrick and thing, and then we don't need Ezri. So then we'd be rearranging all of that. We could do. I like Garrick there as the +2 captain skill for a disable. And then you could discard him for some rerolls dice. And finally, an Admiral. Now, an Admiral, there is a couple of Admirals that appear in Deep Space Nine. The big one is Admiral William Ross. Now, his action allows you to target a ship at range 1 to 2 that's in your forward firing arc. If they attack this round, they lose 1 less dice. So it's an action to pick someone who's in your forward firing arc, and it makes them lose 1 attack or 1 dice on 1 attack this round. It's not an amazing ability, but he is a +2 skill Admiral with a talent slot, which you could use on the ship. Now that will mean that he bumps Jadzia to 8. Garrick will only bump her to a 9 because of the rule of 3. But I like still the synergy and also just the versatility of Garrick. So we'll put William Ross on. Again, if you're a lone ship and you're building one ship up to the maximum, there's no point in not putting an Admiral on board. Now we're going back to more talents. So we're looking for ship, all about just keeping this ship going. So we're looking for things that aren't actions. Make It So could be nice. You discard it rather than disabling Garrick. But it's a 5-point card that steps in as a discard to stop a disable. Now, Fire at Will is interesting. Instead of making a normal attack, you may discard the card to make 1 primary weapon and 1 secondary weapon attack. These attacks are both at -1 dice and must be made of different enemy ships. However, this gives you 3 attacks in this ship. So you go Fire at Will, primary weapon, first at target A, then phaser cannons at target B, and phaser cannons allows you to trigger another primary weapon attack, which is not subject to the -1 because that only triggers for the 2 attacks that you make with that. Any more attacks are not subject to that -1. So that might not be a bad shout. It gives you the ability to shoot at 2 ships in front of you. And there's nothing to say that the phaser cannon's second attack has to be at the same target. So you could always primary 1 ship, phaser cannon the second ship, and then use your primary weapon secondary shot from the phaser cannons on either one of them, whichever one you fancy. So that could be a really nice thing to do. It gives you that's very much the Defiant. That's spraying and praying all sorts of firepower everywhere. You do lose a dice. You're only rolling 3 dice with the phaser cannons, and then 3 dice with the primary weapon thanks to the Type 8 phasers. But on any one of those attacks, you could chuck Cry the Warrior and add +3. Provided you've got enough enemies in the forward firing arc. But obviously, if you're going to be doing this and multi-firing at lots of ships, that's the perfect time for Cry the Warrior. We could go for Sacrifice, quite Jadzia-y. We could go for Cheat Death. It's always a nice one. Red Squad. Again, I keep mentioning Red Squad. Red Squad is a very nice upgrade. It's basically just the elite of the elite. It's meant to be the elite cadets. However, each one of the hero ships is basically the creme of the creme of that particular group. You know, that's why they're the main characters. So Red Squad is very appropriate for any of those. Infiltration is nice, stops you being shot at if you're all on your own for a turn. We could go for quick thinking, and gives us the ability to do a one-time sensor. A one-time sensor echo, even if we're not cloaked. Nice, but not for 5 points. But battle hardened is where I think we go, because battle hardened when we spend a battle stations token, put a time token on this card, and you get a battle station token back. So you can do action battle stations. Cisco gives you a second battle stations token. Then you can fire, spend the battle stations, get it back. You've still got 2 battle stations tokens now. I mean, you've got another one for the second shot and one for defense. So here is our our ship. Now, if you want to put an ambassador on, the Federation ambassador for this, guys, is Loxana Troy, as she turns up on Deep Space Nine several times, usually chasing Odo. So we have the USS Defiant under the command of Jadzia Dax. You get a free 1 bank left or right at the beginning of each activation phase. William Ross is along for the ride, +2 skill. It's the Fed prototype because it's allowed to be. We have Cry of the Warrior, lending into Jadzia's previous host as Curzon, you know, godfather to the child of Kang, and also member of the House of Martok after she marries Worf. Battle Hardened is a one from William Ross that allows us to use Battle Stations token more. Garrick gives us some flexibility in attacking or captain skill. Ablative Armor makes us more defensive, giving us 3 defense dice passive. Phaser Cannons allows for double strike. Type 8 phasers makes the follow-up strike and the prime weapon attacks better normally. Esri keeps Kira going faster, which means we can do that every other round and gank enemy ships. And Cisco enables us to re-enable the cannons every single turn and get another Battle Stations token. And that's a 60-point ship. That's pretty compact. That's the thing, because the Defiant is a warship, so there is only a couple of crew slots. I know we've managed to get 4 on here, but Esri doubles up as her own slot, so she brings another one. And Elim Garrick is in a separate extra bonus slot. So, the Defiant. It's a tough little ship. That's it. This is rolling 3 defense dice. You know, it's got some good firepower, good maneuverability, bonus moves thanks to Jadzia, lots of conversions, lots of ways to stay alive, and also just blow things up. There's definitely potential here. Now, as I say in every single video, this is not the only build. You can, of course, put Cisco as the captain and go for even more pure offense. I'm trying to lean into the more evasive and movie, not as in movie as in film, movie as in how it moves, ship we see. Jadzia is the captain / helmsman, being the one in control. I mean, she's the one that's in charge of the Defiant while it's laying the minefields. And whoever said there's not a Klingon around when you need them? So, this is my Defiant. Obviously, your Defiant might be and should be different. As I say all the time, if you come up with exactly the same idea as me, it proves that I think I've finally run out of ideas. I should hopefully be able to come up with a ship that no one else has built before, even if it's only by a couple of cards of difference. So someone here may have done the exact same thing but not brought Cry of the Warrior and Elim Garrick. And I've gone, you know what? They work quite nicely. Cry of the Warrior gives you a massive attack boost on one attack. You can use Garrick to discard to re-roll those bonus dice to make sure that first attack really punches home. And you've got lots of options. But, as I say, everyone's build's going to be different. Everyone's idea about what the Defiant should be. The Defiant is almost worth doing 2 builds on because of the cloaking one. The cloaking device makes the ship act very, very differently. I'm not a massive fan of that unless you were to go and bring Tarul and the Romulan cloaking device as well. You put the Tarul and the Romulan cloaking device on at the same time with the Defiant cloaking device, then you've got a ship that can be actually useful under cloak. You will at that point, however, spend an awful lot of time trying to work out ways to get free actions because you're going to be using your action for sensor records most of the time. But So thank you very much. I am going to do obviously a Deep Space Nine, an actual Deep Space Nine video as well as part of the Heroes of the Federation list. Because of the people that we've used here, there might be some duplicates, but I will try and make sure everyone's in a different position. So I will try to make sure that it's not Jadzia as the captain, which actually it won't be, because the giant ship base of the DS9 is not allowed to perform the maneuvers that Jadzia gives it. So thank you very much for joining me. As I said, if you've got any other ideas about how the Defiant should work, any other cards you think I should use, drop them in the comments. Give us a like, hit subscribe. It really helps me out, and it makes sure that, you know, it doesn't make sure that I keep going. I'm going to keep going even if no one watches me, because I enjoy it. But everyone that subscribes, everyone that comments, everyone that likes the video, just lets me know that someone's seen it and someone's gone, okay, there's something in there that I can use, which is all I really ask for. So, as I said, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.